New president, new administration, Donald Trump, and without commenting on that he's a great guy or a horrible guy or anything like that, no matter how you voted, as a federal employee, you should be aware of what this man intends to do and what you should be doing as a federal employee to react to it. It's no secret that Donald Trump ran on efficiency. He ran on competence. And his whole claim, his biggest claim to the White House was he's run an empire and he knows how to run things, and the federal government is run very poorly. It's very inefficient, and there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of fraud, there's an abuse, and he is the one guy who can fix that. Now, whatever you think of that, you should know that as of the day of this podcast, which is January 23rd, 2017, he has already signed an executive order indicating a hiring freeze in the federal government. And I don't think it's too hard to predict what is going to happen to federal employees over the next 4 or possibly 8 years. And I think there's going to be 3 trends that you have to think about. Number one, there's going to be a lot of people being let go. There's going to be a lot of restructuring. This man is not going to tolerate the way things are being handled now and the way things are done. And I know a lot of my clients who are federal employees, they talk about this all the time. How their boss does nothing, how their second line manager doesn't do a whole lot. Those people are going to be in trouble. The higher level employee is going to be in trouble because when you're looking at cutting salaries and stuff like that and benefits, and you want to really reduce not just the size of government but the cost of government, there are going to be people that are going to be let go at the higher levels. And I don't think there's any question about that. That's trend number one I think you're going to see. Trend number 2, there's going to be a push for more contractors. Contractors are just easier to work with in many cases. You don't have to perpetually employ these people. Once the contract's over, the government has the freedom to either hire them again or hire someone else. That's going to be more of a trend. And third, for federal employees that have not been terminated or let go, the jobs are going to be more competitive, not just to get the job. I mean, certainly to get the job, it's going to be more competitive, but to keep your job, it's going to be way more competitive. And your boss is going to go to his boss, and there's going to be some efficiency type expert's going to be brought in, and it's going to start looking at who we can lose and who we absolutely have to keep. So these are the trends that are going to happen for federal employees under President Trump. And the question is, what do you do? If you're a federal employee, what do you do now on January 23rd, 2017? Well, I think there are a few things you can do that are really important. Number one, you have to start to follow real news. Okay? That does not mean watching 5 hours of cable TV of people talking just about how much they hate this guy or how much they love this guy, or what was the size of the crowd at the inauguration? Was it really that big? Was it really that small? And we're talking, when I say follow real news, you're going to have to follow consequential news. Real news that's going on in the world, particularly in the federal government. What happened with that deal at Boeing, for example, where Donald Trump says, whatever this thing cost, $4 billion, we're going to shrink it down. What's going on? What are the trends at your agency? You're going to have to really start to follow that. You're going to have to spend a couple hours a day or so, maybe 10 hours a week, reading real publications about what's going to be happening over the next 4 years, particularly at your agency. That's number one. That's going to be a commitment. Number two, once you are able to start following real news, what you've got to do is you have to start charting a course to get to the parts of the agency where there's going to be a lot of business development. For example, how is the VA going to change? Are they going to do this private option for our veterans? If that's so, is there going to be a department at the VA that's going to handle that, that's going to monitor that, that's going to make sure that people have new VA cards, which give them the opportunity to go to a private doctor? Will the private doctor have to report in any way to the VA? I don't know the answers to these questions, but I know one thing. If I were working at the VA right now, I would seriously be studying and following what the trends are going to be. And how do you get yourself into an area of the agency that's very valuable? There are details you can do. 60-day, 90-day, 120-day details. You can meet the right people in a given department. And you have to really follow that, and you have to chart your course to get to that department where you're going to be needed. The third thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to start documenting everything you're doing. And this is really important because at the end of the day, not everybody's going to be able to get themselves to a more valuable part of the agency, and jobs are going to be destroyed. And there's going to have to be a decision made by someone as to if there are 5 criminal investigators in this area, in this little component, if there are 5 program managers in this little area of the Department of Treasury, wherever it is, in Ohio somewhere, why am I the person that is more valuable than everybody else? You have to really go to your boss, and you have to start getting on better projects and push yourself. Because if you sit there and you do nothing, someone else is going to start doing these steps, and your job is going to be eliminated. And understand this, the best chance you're going to have in layoffs type of thing is some sort of Title VII claim, something like that. You're not really going to be able to challenge a decision to cut the agency. It's done at much, much higher levels. It's not a typical personnel action that someone gets, for example, a disciplinary notice where you get a 15-day suspension and you can apply the Douglas factors and you can try to keep your job. All of that is gone. None of that's going to apply to things like this. And if you take these steps, I think as a federal employee, you will increase your chances of not losing your job over the next 4 to 8 years. There is one additional piece of law that a federal employee has to be concerned about regarding potential reductions in force, and that was your job elimination or supposed job elimination really part of the reduction in force, or were you just told that? Now this is very important because one thing a department could do is they could hand you a letter along with other people and they could tell you your job has been eliminated without telling you the reasons why, and they may believe that you could just assume that the reason that you were terminated was because of these government restructuring layoffs, when in fact your job was not part of the layoff activity. It wasn't part of the reorganization, and in essence they just told you that so you wouldn't sue them. So you have to be very careful if you get one of those letters to bring that to an attorney and let that attorney investigate, was your job really part of the layoff? Because if it wasn't and they told you that, it could be a subterfuge for either discrimination or whistleblowing.